Golden child no more. My sister tried to sell me my own daughter. My life has always been a twisted fairy tale, but you'll never believe how low my own sister stooped. Adopted my niece, they said. A noble act, they whispered. But the truth is far more sinister, a saga of favoritism, abandonment, and a desperate attempt to cash in on a child's love. Growing up as the second daughter in the Wilson family was like living in permanent grayscale, while Jessica, my sister, radiated in vibrant color. She was, in their eyes, perfect in every way, and I learned this bitter lesson early on. When I was 6, I proudly brought home an A on my math test, my little heart bursting with excitement to show Mom and Dad. I found them in the kitchen, not sharing in my joy, but fawning over Jessica's latest dance routine. "That's nice, Robin," Mom said, her voice dismissive, "but look at your sister's pirouette." This pattern, as you can imagine, never changed. Jessica got new clothes from the mall while I inherited her hand-me-downs, still in good condition, but never really for me. And the latest iPhone, oh, she needs these things for her future, my parents would declare. Apparently, my future didn't require much investment. Even our paternal grandparents, who lived in the fancy part of town with their swimming pool and perfectly manicured lawn, were caught in the same trap. The Christmas I was 8 really drove it all home. Jessica unwrapped a brand new laptop, essential, of course, for her schoolwork, while I received a pack of notebooks and some pencils. "This is more your speed, isn't it?" my grandmother said with a condescending smile. But I had my own sanctuary, my mother's parents' house. There, something magical happened. I was treated like I mattered. They hung my artwork on their fridge, right next to their own family photos. They remembered my favorite foods and made them whenever I visited. Jessica hated going there. "It's so boring," she'd complain, so she stopped visiting altogether. While Jessica was at ballet 1 month, I spent my afternoons at Eleanor and George's house, where they taught me to bake cookies and helped me with my homework. I was 10 when my parents delivered the final verdict on my worth to the family. It came during what they solemnly called a family meeting. It was a Sunday afternoon in October. All 6 adults arranged themselves around our living room, Mom and Dad standing by the fireplace. The atmosphere was heavy with manufactured importance. "We need to discuss something serious," Dad began. "As you know, a college education isn't getting any cheaper," Mom continued, as if this was news to anyone. I watched Jessica straighten up in her chair, already basking in the glow of their anticipated praise. "Jessica will be starting college in 3 years," Dad added, pointing out the obvious. "She's shown remarkable talent in so many areas. It's important we support her potential." Then Mom turned to me, her expression softening with what I knew was pity, not affection. "Honey, you're different. You're more suited for practical work. You don't really need college." Grandma Margaret, Dad's mother, not one to miss an opportunity to shower Jessica with adoration, gushed, "Jessica is so gifted. Just last week, the rest was just noise." I sat there, not worth investing in, hearing the familiar message loud and clear. But then, something unexpected happened. Grandpa George stood up, his face red with anger. "This is absolutely unfair. How dare you write off a 10-year-old child like this?" "George," my father started, attempting to quell the outrage, but Grandma Eleanor cut him off. "If you won't support both your daughters equally," Grandma Eleanor announced, her voice sharp as shattered glass, "we'll make sure of that." And with that, they walked out, leaving a stunned silence in their wake. Later that night, as I headed to the kitchen for water, I overheard my parents talking in their bedroom. The heating vent carried their words clearly up to the hallway. "Mother's being ridiculous," Mom was saying, her voice laced with resentment. "They should give us that money for Jessica's education instead. It would be wasted on Robin. She's just not bright enough." I don't know why they're pushing this, but somehow, it didn't hurt as much as it should have. Maybe it was because I had heard it all before. My parents never missed a chance to brag about their perfect daughter. I focused on my own studies, pouring my energy into something they couldn't diminish. Then came the day that shattered my parents' perfect vision of their golden child. I was in my senior year when Jessica came home from college, mascara running down her face. She burst through the front door, wailing, "Mom, Dad." I was doing homework at the kitchen table. Her tears startled me. I'm pregnant." The silence that followed was deafening. "Who's the father?" Dad finally asked, his voice barely a whisper. Jessica's next word sent Mom collapsing into a chair. "I don't know for sure." I watched my parents' faces as their perfect world crumbled before their very eyes. But it took them less than 5 minutes to reconstruct it, albeit in a different shape. "Oh, sweetie," Mom rushed to hug Jessica, her voice dripping with false sympathy. "It's not your fault. These things happen. We'll help you raise the baby," Dad added quickly, desperation clinging to his words like a shroud. "You'll stay here with us." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Are you serious?" I said from my spot at the table, my voice dripping with scorn. "She parties her way through college, and you're still making excuses for her." Listen, I continued, years of frustration finally boiling over. This is what happens when you spoil someone their entire life when you never make them face consequences. How dare you? Dad thundered, his face turning red with fury. Your sister is going through a difficult time, and you're being cruel. Jessica burst into fresh tears. Get out, she screamed at me, her voice shrill with fury. You heartless little. I didn't wait to hear the rest. I ran upstairs, threw some clothes into a bag, and fled that toxic environment. Behind me, I could hear them consoling Jessica, telling her everything would be okay, that none of this was her fault. Grandma Eleanor and Grandpa George took me in without question. I finished my senior year living with them, focusing on my college applications. My parents didn't call, didn't check on me, didn't even show up at my graduation. But I had my real family there, my grandparents. That fall, I left for college in another city, my tuition paid by my grandparents, a testament to their unwavering belief in me. I heard through the grapevine that Jessica had given birth to a daughter and was living with her parents. They were probably still making excuses for her, shielding her from the consequences of her actions. But life had a funny way of working out. Jessica's brilliant future had crumbled, while I was thriving after graduating college with honors. Within 6 years, I worked my way up to senior consultant. My routine was comfortable, challenging work during the week, peaceful weekends spent exploring my new city. They were proud of everything I'd accomplished. Then, on a regular Tuesday morning, my phone rang. I almost dropped my coffee when I saw Mom flash across the screen, a number I hadn't seen in almost a decade. Robin, her voice sounded older, tired. We need your help. I was sitting in my office, the city skyline sprawling behind me. Jessica has run away. Again. This time, with some guy she met at a bar. Please come home, Mom pleaded, her voice cracking with desperation. We need to discuss this in person. And that's how I found myself driving back to my childhood home that evening. The house looked smaller than I remembered, the paint peeling around the windows, a reflection of the neglect that had seeped into every corner of my life there. Mom and Dad had aged more than I expected. Dad's hair completely gray now, Mom's face lined with worrying. They led me to the living room, the sight of so many past injustices. The irony wasn't lost on me. Jessica's unstable, Dad began, his voice strained. She never kept a job for more than a few months. Different man, different apartments. Mom wiped her eyes. We tried to help, paid her debts. But last week, Dad continued, his voice cracking, she met this man, said he was taking her to California to become an actress. She laughed bitter. She packed a bag and left, didn't even say goodbye to Lucy. We're drowning in debt, Mom said, her voice barely audible. Credit cards, personal loans, all to keep Jessica afloat. I waited for the other shoe to drop. We want you to take Lucy, Mom said, her voice laced with guilt. We're too old for this. We can't start over with a child. I sat there in the living room where I had learned I was the lesser daughter. These people who had written me off as worthless, who hadn't even come to my graduation, were now begging for my help. After my parents went to bed that night, I sat in the kitchen with Lucy, my niece. She was nothing like I expected, nothing like Jessica. While my sister had been loud and demanding, Lucy was quiet and thoughtful. Do you like to read? I asked tentatively. Yes, I love it, but Grandma says I read too much. She says I should do something useful instead. Over cups of hot chocolate, Lucy slowly opened up. She told me about her life with my parents, how Grandma sighed heavily whenever she had to make Lucy dinner, how Grandpa complained about the cost of her school supplies. I spent the next week taking time off work, getting to know my niece. We went for ice cream, visited the zoo, and talked for hours about everything and nothing. Lucy was smart, kind, and remarkably resilient despite everything she'd been through. She showed me her strata report cards that no one had ever celebrated. The decision to adopt Lucy wasn't easy. I had a career, a life I had built from scratch. But as I looked into Lucy's eyes, I knew what I had to do. The legal process was exhausting. I had to gather documentation, provide my financial records, and endure countless interviews. Jessica didn't contest the termination of her parental rights. She didn't even show up for the hearing, a testament to her complete disinterest in her daughter's life. Finally, after what felt like endless paperwork and interviews, the day came when I officially became Lucy's mother. We packed up her room at my parents' house and started a new life together. Don't forget to forward her school records, my mother called out as we left. Lucy flourished in our new life together. She decorated her room in our apartment with fairy lights and bookshelves. She joined the school's debate team, excelling in every topic she debated. We established traditions, Sunday morning pancakes, evening walks in the park, marathon sessions of board games. Monthly visits to Grandma Eleanor and Grandpa George became a highlight for both of us. Lucy turned 14, growing into a confident, intelligent young woman. My parents never called to check on her, never sent birthday cards, never asked how she was doing. But Lucy didn't seem to mind. She had found a sense of belonging, a stability she had never known before. Then, The phone call from my parents came on a Saturday morning. "We miss her," Mom whimpered. After 5 years of silence, they suddenly missed their granddaughter. I told Lucy about the call, explaining that she deserved to make her own choices about family relationships, and I didn't want to be the one standing in her way. The moment we walked through their front door, Jessica was there. "Lucy," she cried, jumping up and rushing toward my niece. "Baby, I've missed you so much." I watched Lucy's face carefully, observing the complex emotions swirling within her. Fear, confusion, longing. Jessica wrapped her in a tearful embrace while her parents looked on approvingly. "I realized what's important," Jessica announced, her voice thick with emotion. "I want my daughter back." The word back hit me like a slap, as if Lucy was a borrowed sweater she'd finally decided to reclaim. "I'm living in Phoenix now," Jessica continued, her smile wide. "With Robert. He's got a great job, and we have a beautiful house. Lucy would love it there." "Do you have a job?" I asked, trying to keep my voice level. Jessica frowned for a moment. "Well, not right now," she said finally. "And what happens if things don't work out with Robert?" I pressed, refusing to let her off the hook. "What's your backup plan? Why are you being so negative?" Mom chimed in, her voice laced with accusation. "Your sister is trying to do the right thing." "The right thing?" I laughed, incredulous. "The right thing would have been not abandoning her daughter for 5 years. The right thing would have been sending birthday cards, making phone calls, showing any interest at all in Lucy's life." "I made mistakes," Jessica wailed, tears welling in her eyes. "But she's my daughter." "Stop being selfish," Dad snapped, his face contorted with anger. "You've done your part. You can have your own children if you want to play mommy so bad." I stared at them, unable to comprehend their warped sense of reality. They were more concerned with Jessica's feelings than with Lucy's well-being. "You haven't asked Lucy about her life," I said, emphasizing each word. "What is she doing in school? What are her interests?" The cycle of dysfunction, the years of neglect, the constant excuses for Jessica's behavior, it all came crashing down on me in that moment. "Lucy isn't a toy you can pass around," I said, my voice shaking with anger. "She's a person who needs stability and real love." "Where were you when she had nightmares? When she was sick? When she won the school spelling bee? Where were any of you? You have no right," Jessica screamed, her face red with rage. "She's my child." "No," I shot back, my voice trembling. "She's a child who deserved better than all of you." I grabbed Lucy's hand, my grip tight. "We're leaving. And don't you dare try to contact us." Jessica's call came exactly a week after our confrontation. When I saw her number, I almost didn't answer, but something told me to record the conversation, a nagging feeling that I needed to protect myself. "Hey sis," she said, her voice sickeningly sweet. "Listen, I've been thinking about our situation, and I think I have a solution that could work for everyone." "What situation?" I asked, my voice weary. "Lucy, of course. Look, I know you've gotten attached to her. After all, you are a substitute parent. So here's the deal. Give me $150,000. The phone nearly slipped from my hand. "Excuse me," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "It's really a win-win," Jessica continued casually, as if she were discussing the price of a used car. "You get to keep Lucy, and I get enough money to start fresh. You can afford it with your salary." "Let me get this straight," I said, my voice shaking. "You're trying to sell your daughter to me." "Don't be so dramatic," she snapped, her sweet tone vanishing. "I'm just being practical. You want Lucy, I need money. Simple business transaction. She's your child, Jessica, not a used car. Have it your way," she sneered. "Call me or you won't ever see her again." Click. She hung up and I sat there, clutching my phone, feeling sick to my stomach. The lawsuit came 3 days later. Jessica's new boyfriend had hired her a slick lawyer who specialized in family law. The initial filing painted Jessica as a reformed mother who had overcome hardship to create a stable home for her daughter, and they claimed my adoption was just a temporary situation. In court, Jessica played her role perfectly, tears streaming down her face. She claimed I had alienated Lucy from her and accused me of using her daughter to prove I was better than my sister. During Jessica's testimony, she said I was emotionally manipulating Lucy to turn her against her mother and that my adoption was not necessary for Lucy's growth. I sat there, listening to their lies, feeling a surge of anger. "Your Honor," my lawyer said, breaking the tension, "I'd like to submit an audio recording into evidence." Jessica's face went pale as her voice filled the courtroom. "Give me $150,000, and I won't sue for custody." "You want Lucy, I need money. Simple business transaction," Jessica's lawyer stammered, struggling to regain control of the situation. Then Lucy stood up, and the courtroom fell silent. She seemed suddenly older, stronger, and more confident. "My mother abandoned me," she said, her voice clear and unwavering. "Robin is my real family." Her words hit hard. The case would be over, but my battle with my sister and parents wouldn't come to an end here. The judge's decision was swift and unequivocal. Not only did I retain full custody of Lucy, but the judge also called Jessica's attempt to sell custody morally reprehensible and a clear indication of unfitness as a parent. Her boyfriend, who had been sitting in the back of the courtroom, stood up and walked out without a word. Later, I heard he left her the same day, disgusted by her attempt to sell her own child. My parents tried to catch us in the courthouse parking lot, their faces etched with worrying. "Robin, please," Mom said, her voice pleading. "We can work this out as a family." "Family?" I scoffed, the word leaving a bitter taste in my mouth. "Lucy deserves better than what you did to me, better than what you let Jessica do to her." "But where will Jessica go?" Dad demanded, his voice laced with concern. "Oh, that's right, still worried about Jessica even now," I said without humor, of course. "Some things never change. Jessica moved back in with our parents, proving she's still the golden child, is still being coddled, is still being excused, and is still failing to grow up." Life went on for me and Lucy. She threw herself into her studies with renewed energy, determined to make the most of her second chance. She joined the school's newspaper team and started taking photography classes, finding new outlets for her creativity. "You know what's funny?" she said one evening as we were making dinner together. "For years, I thought something was wrong with me because my mom kept leaving. But now I realize she was the one with the problem. She never knew how to love anyone but herself." I pulled her into a hug, holding her tight. "You're the strongest person I know, kiddo." Grandma Eleanor and Grandpa George remained our constant support system. Sunday dinners at their house became a sacred tradition. George taught Lucy how to use his new digital camera, nurturing her artistic talents. "We always knew you'd be a wonderful mother, Robin," Eleanor said, her eyes filled with love. "You're giving Lucy the life she always deserved. Just like George and I tried to save you." I looked at Lucy. She was right. I just have found the right kind of family. Lucy hasn't heard from her mother since the court case, and she says she prefers it that way. Some bridges are better left burned. A few months later, Lucy won first place in a regional journalism competition for a photo essay she created about her journey to overcome adversity. As I watched her accept her award, beaming with pride, I thought about cycles broken, wounds healed, and love freely given. Now, tell me honestly, based on everything you've read, do you think I handled this situation correctly? I need your honest feedback. I'm constantly questioning my choices, wondering if there was anything I could have done differently. Any advice or opinions you have would be greatly appreciated.